Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hello and welcome to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Andy Radig, and I'm here with your City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Mark, thanks for being here today.
Great to be here, Andy.
Alrighty, well, we'll talk about some municipal news updates in the first half of today's program, and then in the second half we'll come back and we'll talk about some agenda highlights from the Tuesday, July 14th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. And that meeting will also be carried live on Oshkosh Media GovTV. So Mark, we've got a lot of different items today that we're talking about, and so it looks like one that is kind of a bigger one is that City Hall is tentatively scheduled to reopen on July 20th.
Yeah, we have had City Hall closed for 3 months now, and we're working towards opening it for the public to access it. I think we've done a great job with our staff to make as many things as accessible as possible, but there's still nothing that beats the face-to-face interaction. If you truly need and desire that, we want to make that available to you, especially with elections coming up, things like that. People want to make sure that things are taken care of. So we want to reopen, and we're shooting for Monday, July 20th. That's still subject to change. We're still waiting to see what happens with if there's any bump in numbers of COVID illnesses from the July 4th weekend. And that's a concern we have because we know a lot of people got together, and we're monitoring daily the numbers that the Winnebago County Health Department's coming out with to see if there's any spike and if there's any concern for reopening. If we don't see any significant type of spike, I think we can shoot for that. So be on the lookout for media releases that will finalize everything. But our goal is to get open and start serving the public directly as they're accustomed to. Right.
And I know that crews have been working throughout City Hall and other city facilities, installing plexiglass and all sorts of things behind the scenes. So one other question that residents may have, are masks going to be required in City Hall?
We are not going to specifically require masks, but for those of you who visit City Hall, you're going to see a multitude of different things. One is we're going to have a greeter desk right in the lobby of City Hall. And even though we're not requiring or mandating masks, we are strongly encouraging them. So much so that if necessary, we will have masks available for somebody who, if we can encourage them to wear it, we want to do that. If they forget it at home or something like that, or in their car, and you just want to go in and do something quick, but you're willing to mask up, we're going to make them available, the throwaway types. And we think that's a courtesy that we can extend. I would tell the public, because I know some people feel strongly that they don't want to wear that, and we're certainly going to respect that. But we're asking our employees who you're going to be interacting with to mask up out of courtesy to you, because it will protect you as a member of the public. We're asking simply that you reciprocate and wear a mask to help protect, because people wearing the masks are doing so to protect you from that very person. So you're going to see that at City Hall, and I'm hoping that people will mask up out of courtesy to everyone else.
And very good. And again, more information will be forthcoming about the reopening of City Hall. You can keep an eye on the city's website for more details on that as the information becomes available. So, Mark, it looks like we're also in the process of some absentee ballot request information is being sent out, and this is a request form.
Yeah, it is. The council had directed staff to encourage mail-in balloting for both the August primary and the November general election. And by now, you should have received at home an absentee ballot application, not the absentee ballot itself. We're not allowed to directly mail a ballot to anyone without that person's request. So look for the application in the mail, and you can either fill it out online at myvote.wi.gov or fill it out, mail it to us, and then we will in turn mail you a ballot. You can request an absentee ballot with that application for the August 11th primary and or for the November 3rd general election. We'd encourage you to check both boxes, and then we'll send them both to you in the course of time. If you don't check off for November 3rd, the State Elections Board is going to send you another request. My understanding is they're going to be sending that to you in the fall anyway, so you have a choice, but if you want to just cover your bases early, we will take care of you.
Okay, and send it back right away, please. We try to encourage people to do that.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it's received by, I believe, Election Day. So you want to fill it out as soon as possible. If we mail it to you, turn it around real quick. Of course, if you need to study the ballot and everything, that's understandable. But we want you to fill it out as soon as possible. You don't want it to get lost in the mail and then suddenly you forget about it. And then the record here at City Hall would say, well, you received an absentee ballot. So we want you to be able to vote. So do it as soon as possible and get it right back to us, and then your vote will be counted.
Okay, very good. Some updates from the Oshkosh Public Library. They're following some very careful standards for reopening.
Because of the nature of their work, there's so much public interaction, so much hands-on materials that people use at a public library that they're still maintaining their curbside pickup and drop boxes for returns. The services have resumed, but you're not able to enter the library, and that's because of all the precautions that they feel they need to take, because you get a constant turnover of people throughout the day, and their hands can be left, their handprints and everything can be left, and then you come in and do that and touch places where may have not had an opportunity to clean right away. So we're keeping it closed for the time being. That's a decision of the library board, and I'm certainly going to respect the library board's wishes on that. Our library director, Jeff Gilderson-Dewey, is going to be talking to the library board about the standards by which they're going to reopen. Right now, the standards are fairly high, and right now the library wouldn't open according to those standards for the foreseeable future. And I think they want to take a look at should they lessen that standard so that as things improve, they can open up a little earlier. So be on the lookout for that. But meanwhile, if you still want the services, the curbside pickup service is very easy. You can look at stuff online, order it, and just drive up, tell them who you are, you call in, tell them who you are, and they'll come right out with your books.
Sure.
And it's very easy, and I'd encourage people to do it.
Well, it's a great way to still be able to utilize library services. Just a side note, Oshkosh Media has actually partnered with the Oshkosh Public Library and is working with them on their virtual summer performance series. So you can be looking for that on the Oshkosh Public Library YouTube page, and also the programming will be shared on Oshkosh Media Life TV. So a couple added extras coming up for the summer working with the Oshkosh Public Library. Also, just to note that Oshkosh Media and the city are putting together and have developed a webpage that has information about city updates from city departments. So all that information is available on the city's website with department updates of the situation as it relates to COVID-19 and how city services are the current status. Also, online services are available there so that folks can make payments and have a lot of other capabilities that are virtual or online. So
look for that online service page because it has so many things. This is what has enabled us to basically be a virtual City Hall for 3 months. And we're not going to take it away just because City Hall is going to be reopening soon.
Right.
And if you just want the convenience of doing a lot of this stuff online, absolutely look at these different options. There are so many things that are available. And if you are still concerned about maintaining your social distance, there's no better way than to use these services.
Absolutely. So that is all available at the city's website. Mark, there was recently a city budget workshop that took place on July 8th. And I understand it's a little bit different this year. The council started it on the planning process.
Yeah, we mixed up our process that we use, the chronology of the events. One of the things that I've wanted to do for a number of years, and our finance director, Russ Van Gompel, had done this in previous communities he worked in, where he was also a city manager. And it's bringing the capital improvement plan early to the council so they can take a look at it. So one of the things that we focus on with the capital planning is our debt, and our particularly our general obligation debt, because that really drives what council can afford to do in any given year. And so we went through that and explained how that process works, the different types of debt, and how managing our debt is so crucial to being successful in our capital planning. So we had a chance to discuss some of the projects that are upcoming for the year. But the difference is, because we're doing it so far up front, it gets council to think about the capital improvement plan from a planning standpoint. Later on in October and November, the council will review and approve the capital improvement budget. But this gets them thinking about how the capital improvement plan dovetails with our strategic plan, our comprehensive plan, in those documents that we spend a lot of time on. And are we fulfilling the goals of the plan by getting the right projects in there to meet our goals?
Okay. And that workshop will be available online on the Oshkosh Media website, and will be replayed several times in the upcoming weeks. So you might be able to get a chance to catch it either online or on GovTV. The next workshop, I believe, is August 19th, and that's the next step in the process. The next step in the process,
and then we'll go back to some of our old traditional approaches. We always take a look back and a look forward with that budget workshop. We're going to be looking at the 2019 audit, how we did for the year, hear from our auditors, and then also do some projections for 2021, give an idea of how we're doing this year, and this is a very unusual year, obviously, and what we think that might mean for 2021. This is probably going to be as important as ever, because right now the uncertainty over state aids is lurking over us for 2021, and we want to demonstrate various models that we might see over the next few months. So it's going to be very eye-opening to council, and certainly for staff as we look ahead, because there's a lot of things that are going to be different in this new COVID-19 response world.
Right. And again, keep an eye out for those workshops on GovTV and on the OshkoshMedia.org website. Vinland Street on the north side of town is, there's some planning there to have that road paved, and I understand that this is a partnership arrangement.
It is. Most of Vinland Street is actually in the town of Oshkosh, and the town of Oshkosh asked us to be a co-applicant to a grant from the state of Wisconsin, and the grant really liked projects that had some intergovernmental cooperation. So Vinland is going to be starting very soon and is due to be completed by the end of August. So we're excited about it. We've gotten a lot of complaints, and a lot of times we have to say, well, that's the town of Oshkosh, but part of it is in the city. So we mutually agreed to co-sponsor the grant application. We have a share that we're going to contribute, and the town will have a small share to contribute for that road to get done. But it's going to be coming from state transportation funds. So we're excited and happy to get that road done.
Okay, very good. And we also have a League of Women Voters and Oshkosh Media Candidates Forum that is being covered for the 6th Congressional District, as well as Register of Deeds offices. So just wanted to make a note that that will also be available on Oshkosh Media's YouTube channel, and will also be shown frequently on GovTV. So you can always check OshkoshMedia.org for complete schedules of replays for that and other programming. Then also just a note as well that there is a current survey that is posted on Polco, which is a service that the City of Oshkosh is working with. And this particular survey is a neighborhood needs survey. So seeking some feedback on neighborhood needs in the time of COVID-19 here. To reach that survey, you can go to the city's website, click on services, and then in the pull down there you'll see Polco. That's how you can access it.
And we encourage people to download the app and be a regular participant in Polco. You can participate in one survey, but this is all about citizen engagement. So if we will send you surveys as they come up, some of them you may be interested in, some you may not, but certainly gives you an opportunity to weigh in and give us your thoughts on this. And part of the idea here is to make sure that get an idea of what things have changed, particularly with social interaction during this COVID-19 emergency. So fill it out and download the app if you don't already have it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Mark, I think that's about what we have for the first half of our program today. So what we'll do here is we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about some highlights from the Tuesday, July 14th Common Council agenda. So stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks all healthy donors to schedule an appointment to give now. With the coronavirus outbreak, it is important to maintain a sufficient blood supply. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
We've always been interconnected, interdependent, united. And that's never been more apparent than right now. What we do together today will determine how we live united tomorrow. Stay home, stay strong, and if you're able, give for your neighbors who need help the most.
And welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Andy Radig, joined by your City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. And in this portion of the program, we'll take a look at some agenda highlights from the upcoming July 14th Common Council meeting. So Mark, it looks like an item that we have on the agenda is approval of purchase of some castings, and I understand this deals with inflow and infiltration.
It does. The manhole castings, the whole idea of that is to get a good seal on our manholes so that water doesn't inflow into our sanitary sewer system, because we don't need to clean rainwater. Rainwater is pretty clean already, and so inflow and infiltration is a huge cost to the ratepayers, because then we're treating water that doesn't need to be treated. So we get new manholes in a lot of these areas, and then we have a lot of projects throughout the course of this year that we get new manholes and we replace them ourselves over the course of a project. But the primary reason is for this inflow and infiltration. We spend $1 million annually. This is only $34,000, but this is a real important part of it, because keeping those manholes sealed to prevent water from getting in there will prevent a lot. I remember back in 2008, there were people who thought they were doing us a favor by cleaning off the street by opening the manholes, and what they did was they sent the water down into the sewer system, which backed up into people's basements, or went to the treatment plant, and it was really causing a lot of problems. We've done a lot of education, and we're real happy that we're able to address this inflow and infiltration. I've had a lot of experience with this over the years. This is a very good investment for $34,000 plus.
Okay, well, very good. And then another item that seems very unusual and strange to be talking about at this time of year is the purchase of road salt.
Well, when we have 90-degree weather outside in July, you're like, why are we doing this? But we have to plan for all seasons all the time. So this is for the winter 2021 season. We do an annual joint purchase through the Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and this is basically ordering up for the fall. In reality, our salt sheds are completely full at this time. We had a refill over the course of the winter, and then the winter was kind to us, and we used very little salt for the latter part of the season, so we're full up. But when we need a refill, this is when we do it. Unfortunately, the cost for salt continues to rise, and it doesn't sound like a lot maybe, but it's $77 a ton. We use thousands of tons a year. This purchase is for $185,000 for next season. This has gone up 5%, about $4 a ton. So this cuts into our that's paid for by the taxpayer. So we want to be very careful about managing our salt. We don't want to run low and then you pay a premium in the middle of the winter. So keeping our salt sheds very full makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Then we have an item, approve initial resolution for special assessments for storm sewer laterals. And Mark, didn't we do this earlier in the year?
We actually did. The demand has been so great for these storm sewer laterals. And what happens is we can connect your yard, your roof drain, your sump pump to our stormwater system, and then instead of the water just getting off of your roof and then recycling into your sump pump, we take it away and get rid of it for you. This keeps your area, your yard, your basement drier, and also keeps the roads cleaner. It prevents sidewalks from getting ponding of water during the winter, things like that. So it's only $750 for a lateral. That is probably 1/4 of the cost, but it really is effective at getting stormwater from around the base of your home as well as on in and around your sidewalk and your property.
Okay, that's something kind of interesting. I bet a lot of people probably aren't aware that that's available, so it's kind of a neat thing that they could look into.
Yeah, absolutely. Call the Department of Public Works. I believe it's 236-5059, and we will, we'll put you on the list, and if we can, we'll get you the next round. But it won't be this round, but we can get you on the list for next year.
Okay. And then we have an agreement to be approved with relation to CARES funding and elections. Is this some of the takes care of some of the cost of absentee ballots?
Yes, it does. The federal, it's called the CARES money, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, provided funding to states, and then the state is in turn providing funds to municipalities to offset the cost of absentee ballot, mail-in voting, those things that costs that we've incurred as a result of doing things to spread people around and not have a bunch of people at the polls on election day. We want people to vote, but we don't want the crowds. I think we were successful at doing that. So the state's reimbursing us for some of those costs. Mm-hmm. We're actually going to spend more than this, but the idea is it will offset those costs.
Okay. And then we have an item approving appointments to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and also the Transit Advisory Board. And I understand that we're always looking for folks to serve on those boards and commissions.
We absolutely are. I believe that these appointments will fill all of the vacancies left on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, but we're always looking for people. People leave the committee, retire, things like that, move out of town. So certainly take a look at our website because we've got all the boards and commissions where we have vacancies. We want to encourage people to apply.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, Mark, we have several items that are related, and this relates to a training facility for the Oshkosh Fire Department. And a question on this would be, what are the advantages of a training facility in this location?
We chose this training facility location for a variety of reasons. One, the convenience from a location standpoint. Having it in the central part of the city means that our fire department can go to this location and use it, and they can still be available for calls. A lot of our training facilities that we currently use are in Neenah and Appleton, and so we have to actually pay our employees overtime because we can't take them on duty because they got to be available for calls. If we have this training facility in town, we will avoid those overtime costs completely.
Okay.
The area you see right there is the area where the training tower is being proposed, and the idea behind that is to give ourselves the ability to pull hose and be able to go up several stories to be able to manage a fire. That's the first step in this, is a training facility. The subsequent improvements for the training facility are going to come in future years. The armory is by its nature a training facility that the National Guard used. It's very well suited for training needs. So not only is it a great location from a central standpoint, but it's also a great location. It's got great bones, as they say, that we can go in there and do a lot of renovation. So the first thing will be to put the tower, and this is not the site itself, but that's a replica of what that tower would look like. And we've been talking with the neighbors, and they're concerned about it, and we're sensitive to that. We're going to have some fencing and landscaping that we're going to be able to put in and around that area to cover it up and not make it look as intrusive on the neighborhood. But the National Guard Armory was there for years, and they were able to be good neighbors, and we want to be good neighbors with the neighborhood and yet provide a cost-effective training option for our fire department.
Okay. All right. Well, as that project continues, we'll keep an eye on it and track the progress. Another item is the reconstruction of 9th Avenue from Oakwood Road to Linden Oaks Drive, continuing the process of getting that project moving along.
We made a presentation to the council at the last meeting. 9th west of Oakwood Road is due to be done next year, and it's a rural section of road, which means there's ditches, which means there's a lot of drainage issues there, a lot of bicyclists in the neighborhood, and this is actually considered a collector street that we project will be an arterial over the life of the road. So we're going to construct it at 49 feet, but the question for council is, what do we do with that road? Do we add parking? Do we add bike lanes? Do we do 4 lanes immediately? It doesn't need 4 lanes immediately, but we can use it for parking and bike lanes and things like that. So there are 4 different options that the Traffic Review Board basically forwarded to council and say, we can't decide, so council, you get to decide. So you can see the condition of the road's pretty rough, but it's really deciding on what we want the profile to look like.
Okay. That'll be a good project over there. Then taking a look at some upcoming meetings and so forth, it looks like there's a special Common Council meeting scheduled for August 24th, and there's a hearing there on special assessments. Are these usually held earlier in the year?
They're usually held much earlier in the year, but because of the COVID-19 emergency, we didn't want to have a meeting where a bunch of people were showing up and providing an unnecessary crowd. We're going to move it over to the convention center, use the room that we use for State of the City, which holds several hundred people. We normally get 30 to 50 people at these meetings, so we'll be able to accommodate everybody. It'll be an open house fashion, so people can come in and out, and then the council later on that evening at 7 o'clock will have the formal hearing. If people don't get their questions answered at the open house, they can stick around, ask questions of council, and make their voices heard relative to the special assessments. But we need to get the process going. We owe it to the neighbors to give them their ability to address council on this matter. So we just have a bigger facility to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. And stay tuned to GovTV for further updates on upcoming meetings, and we'll be able to cover those, and you'll be able to see them here. So, Mark, I think that's our topic for today. I think we've gone through quite a bit, so thank you very much for being here today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Andy.
All right, you bet. And again, that Common Council meeting will be on Tuesday, July 14th, and 6 o'clock p.m., covered live here on GovTV, which is Spectrum Channel 10, UVerse Channel 99, and streaming on YouTube and OshkoshMedia.org. Or you can also listen to it on Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online, and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. So thanks again for watching the City Manager's Report, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another new program. Take care.